welcome to the First Issue Club. We are your weekly comic book podcast. We're just like Sue Storm. We love a good read. Sue Storm, better known as the Invisible Woman, the original leading lady of the superhero team. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't want to be invisible every once in a while?
I know I would.
You know? And isn't this the thing, though? Where in some cities that are so crowded and you're constantly around people,
feel invisible.
You feel the most invisible in those places.
That's like, I think why she's one of the more relatable characters. She has a superpower that, well, actually, her real superpower is like her ability to like make force fields and become invisible.
Which, as I'm reading Fantastic Four from the beginning right now, takes forever to actually happen. So the way they use Sue for so many issues is just like, I'm going to disappear now. It's literally like, well, let's just make the girlfriend be able to disappear.
Reed, your meatloaf is ready.
So she can like go hide somewhere, which I like. I hate. It just like does not age well at all.
Well,
the force field thing like makes her like
a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, like maybe the most important, powerful member of the Fantastic Four.
But isn't it such an interesting commentary on the erasure of women in media?
Yes.
That her initial superpower
is being invisible.
Literally.
Out of the way.
Yeah. Excuse me, honey, the men have to superhero now.
Fuck the patriarchy.
Cancel Stan Lee, cancel Jack Kirby.
Stan, leave the industry, more like.
Oh,
sorry to tarnish your image, Stan. But you made some bad decisions.
Kick a man while he's down. 6 feet down, to be exact.
As a lot of people did.
And still do. Continue to make poor choices.
Refresh page. More mistakes.
Talking about you, Neil Gaiman. You didn't think I was gonna bring it up, did you?
You know what? I couldn't remember if we talked about it last time or not.
On the July 4th episode that never saw the light of day.
Let me first say, I'm Mike D.
I'm Greg.
I'm Vargas.
And we three are the First Issue Club. This is the podcast where we talk about comic books, mostly first issues, so you can find out what's a good jumping on point for you.
And we love good reads.
There's different comics for everybody, and we're reading most of them, letting you know what we think. This podcast is made possible by Boulevard Brewing Company's Space Camper Cosmic IPA. Today, Andy and I are enjoying Quantum Hop IPA, which is an Imperial IPA.
I already drank mine, or else I would
delicious.
sip it.
I'll do a swig. You speak to how it tasted past tense.
It is the easiest drinking IPA on this side of the Mississippi.
That's what I tell everyone about these Space Camper things. It's like, whenever you hear IPA, you're like, ooh. But I go, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
It's way better than you think.
Yep.
And it is.
It truly is.
All right, sweeties. Thanks for listening to our beer talk. Have crack open a brew yourself
if you're over 21.
And if you're over 21
and not in a car
and not driving to work.
But if you're driving from work, have at it.
Yeah. Thanks, lawyers. That's parody, by the way. What Andy just said, that's parody.
Can we? So what we're going to do is talk about some comic book news. Like you mentioned, let's get into actual Neil Gaiman stuff.
Neil Gaiman, at this time, allegations that sexual misconduct happened while he was alive. Like, I think
He's
they've
still
always
alive.
I mean, that's like, I didn't want to be like
over the course of his whole damn life.
Yes, I didn't want to be like, this happened like last week. This has been happening apparently for decades.
Have any other women other than the two come out?
Not as of this recording.
Okay, so there have been two women.
Two women. One of them was an assistant.
One of them was like a babysitter assistant thing, secretary.
And one of them was a fan.
Yes.
Okay, so
and the secretary was like
bad power
for
dynamics in both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Abusive power. Shock.
Yeah.
Kind of. I will say this. That he wasn't on my bingo card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think he was on anybody's bingo.
It's kind of like him, Bob Ross, like,
Yeah.
you know, Mr. Rogers, like these are people that you've seen as just like people that make the right decisions. They say things that empower you and make you feel good and make you want to be a good person.
Yeah.
And then when these things come out, you're just like, what is this world? And who are these people?
It's always hard to hear.
Yeah.
It's particularly hard to hear when it comes from somebody who has led you to believe that they're someone to be...
That they're an ally.
That they're an ally, right? That's a better way to put it than what the road I was going down.
Well, and I guess, I mean, I'm a big proponent of second chances for anybody, assuming and given the fact that they are truly sorry for what they've done, acknowledge the people that they've hurt, and make steps to improve their behavior in the future, right? So in a perfect world, for me at least, I won't speak for the whole pod, we would get a statement from Neil Gaiman that said, this is not my recollection of the events, but and however, believe all women. I'm sorry that this happened. This was not my intent. Of course, I apologize to the victim. I apologize to my fans, and I will make efforts to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. And then like donate a bunch of money to sexual abuse victims helplines or whatever.
Yeah. I feel differently.
So do I. I do think he should apologize and he should
Own up to it if true.
give money to places where you can
Yeah.
maybe make some sort of impact, whatever little difference you can make in the world after having done something to shake people's lives. But I do think there are things that I'm like, you don't get a second chance from me, dog.
Yeah.
And like, this is one of those things, I think. I think, like, to Andy's point, like there have been people in the past who I think had a situation where they thought a relationship with somebody was one thing, and then it turned out it wasn't. And then, but it didn't go any further than the misunderstanding. And
Sure.
then that misunderstanding gets snowballed into a bigger thing, and it's like, this person's an asshole. I'm specifically thinking of
We'll call that a Jason Latour.
Jason Latour in comics, and I was thinking of what's the comedian?
Aziz Ansari.
Aziz
Yeah.
Ansari,
Yeah.
where he was on a date. He thought this person was more into him. He made a move. Wasn't reciprocated. They apparently stopped. Like, I don't know that we should end this guy's career because of that, but you should apologize. You should be on good terms with this person. He should talk to he owes his fans an explanation of like what he thinks happened, all that stuff. Right. But that's a scenario wherein I think, yeah, this guy learned from this, I think, and deserves a second chance. He didn't like sexually assault someone, if I'm remembering the details of that case correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
In this scenario, I do feel like power dynamics abused more than once. That's just something you got to know is like a shitty thing.
Yeah.
As just like a person with normal morals.
I will say the same thing I said when the Ed Piskor stuff happened. Now, obviously, this took a different avenue because Ed Piskor took his own life, and there was no,
And all the girls were like over 21.
and there was no situation where there could be reconciliation or rehabilitation,
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, when I hear someone say that they believe in second chances, that is true. Everyone deserves to be heard and to. But when I hear second chances, what my theory is like, you get a chance to reconcile your misdeed, learn from it, and like go to rehab and reconcile the trauma, the trauma that you caused these two individuals.
Well, that's the thing. 2 individuals. So let's say like I perpetrate all these things on how many people have we not heard from? And then is that my second chance? Was my second chance in between the first person and the second person? Like, I think that the whole thing is like, I don't know.
Well, no,
It's really wishy-washy.
I'm not saying, when I say second chances, I don't mean like Neil Gaiman writes an apology and donates money and then we
forget about it.
Yeah,
No,
we
I
let
didn't
him
think
make
that
Good
at all.
Omens 3.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Do I need to burn all my Neil Gaiman books? Like I want to burn all my Warren Ellis books?
And this is where the discussion comes in, because it's like there needs to be a in between, because if we don't have the in between, we have people that get off scot-free for doing terrible things,
Yeah.
and then we have people killing themselves
Yep.
because they get fucking dog pounded
Yeah.
and like just obliterated, and both extremes don't help the victim and they don't rehab the victimizer.
Yeah.
Which is like you need to do both to make the situation better.
Right.
Sure.
And so I think it's important to talk about it and to keep talking about it and to figure out it. This is going to sound shitty. At me if you need to. It's a case-by-case thing because
Totally.
not everything is the same.
Well, and you hate that we're in the year that we're in and we're still talking about like, well, art versus artist sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this conversation has been going since, 2015, 2010? And it could have been going since the dawn of time. You know what I mean? Like, it's a conversation that should have happened, like,
Should have always been happening.
it should have always been happening, right? But it just became like enough of a centerpiece of conversation to have its own lexicon associated with it that we always go back to every time this happens again.
Yeah.
And it does show you how complex and nuanced some of these situations can be,
Yeah.
that we do continue to come back to this conversation. And I'm sorry if you're a listener and you're like, I've heard this conversation before, and Mike, Greg, and Andy, you always have the same take and I'm listening to it again. But
Every time it happens, we're going to talk about it.
yeah, at the same time, I think it's something that like it needs to be talked about. And the more we talk about it, the more, if it changes someone's day and inkling, or if it makes some bro who likes comics who happens to listen to our podcast realize like, oh, I should treat people with more respect.
Yeah.
Like, this conversation is worth having because it's something that, like, especially in comic books and with comic book people, like, I want this community. This community is something I feel very passionate about.
Yeah.
And I want this community to be like
We're going to hold you accountable.
cool and accepting, awesome people where you can let your freak flag fly and you can be who you are and you can feel comfortable and safe in being that. That was an experience that I got to have, and I got to have it as a white male. And that's
It's an experience that everyone should have.
that everyone deserves, and that I want my friends' daughters and all these other people that I'm like introducing comics to as I grow older to like have that same experience. And they can't have it without our generation having this conversation with younger generations and learning from the mistakes that
refuse to be learned.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't like talking about it, and I will stop talking about it when it stops fucking happening.
Yeah, right.
Until then, get fucked and turn it off if you don't like it. In other news that gets us riled up, fucking Boom Studios sold their shit to Penguin Random House,
And
I'm okay with it.
yeah, but the other distribution news.
Distillery went to Diamond.
What the fuck?
I do think it's okay to move on quick. At first, I was going to say, well, let's chew on the Penguin Random House thing for a little bit. But also, what else is there to say about that?
It is,
Penguin Random House is whatever. It's
as our buddy NJD said, it makes it for quicker turnaround for comic books to get into people's hands in a wider market.
Yeah.
And that always spells good news for us.
Yeah, right.
But name a comic book fan or a comic shop owner who's like, you know who I love? Diamond.
And name a publisher recently who has said that they're going to break the mold and do something different. And who do you think they're going to go with as far as publishing rights? Not Diamond, who is the oldest distributor and like a dinosaur and a fossil in this industry.
This was a point that Doug, who's our buddy who owns a comic shop, brought up on our Discord. Join the Discord if you want more comic book friends.
Hashtag Discord.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's a really funny point to make that their whole thing was shaking up the industry. And I do think they've done...
But we're going to go with the old standard.
One of the things I pointed out on the Discord was that Bad Idea was also one of those companies who are like, we're going to be weird and do something different and break the mold of the industry. Mm-hmm. And the way that they did it didn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah, because they were like, nobody can buy our comics.
Yeah.
You had to pay with rocks.
And I think DSTLRY is already much more successful at what they're trying to do than Bad Idea ever was. So kudos to them. It's a weird move, I think, for them to be like, we're moving to Diamond, and then post it on social media like, guess what, y'all? We're a Diamond fam.
Hashtag Diamond.
Like, I just like don't care that you're on Diamond. But DSTLRY has done a couple other things that really haven't landed that we don't talk about that much as comic book fans because we're like buying their comics in comic shops and are generally satisfied with the content of the book.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, right? Are you making good comic books that I can get my hands on? And that's the most crucial part. I'll say the things that I think aren't necessarily working for them. There's the weird digital marketplace that they have.
Yes.
That I've never quite been able to wrap my head around. And every once in a while they have exclusives for sale, meaning like you can get this $20 DSTLRY exclusive cover for one of our new comic books, but you have to own some combination of like, this is for people who own White Boat digitally and an issue of Somna digitally are allowed to purchase this unique cover from us.
Isn't that cool?
I do think it's cool to award digital digital purchasers because you're getting access to something physical. You're getting rewarded for being a digital reader, whereas your monetary investment into comics digitally is just for the experience of the content.
Yes.
It's not for a physical item you can hold. It's kind of the whole idea.
Unless you print them all off.
Unless you print them in, at your house and bind them yourself. Well, this is the whole thing I think is a good parallel to this is video game ownership, where there's a market for used resale games, just like there's a market for used comic books. And if you're buying tons and tons and tons of this stuff, it just makes sense to have the physical media, unless you're really dipping in and out sparsely. Then that's where you might just want a digital comic. But are sparse readers buying digital comics directly from a DSTLRY marketplace?
No, I think people that don't want 10,000 comic books in their house buy digital comics.
Yeah.
Right? Like people who want to read comics but don't want the bulk. And
we call them smooth brains. And
aren't all their books like NFTs somehow? Like, I know you can only access them through their marketplace.
They're unique to you.
That's what I mean. You
But
can buy a digital, like whatever digital cover you want, and then can't you like trade it in their marketplace?
You can, but I don't think the way it works is like a non-fungible token.
I don't think there's any money.
I don't think it's like
attached
connected to
it.
the blockchain or anything.
No, I don't think it is. But like they're unique digital items somehow because they have different covers.
You probably
And you-
have to log on online
Yeah.
to access it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can only do that through their reader.
Yes.
So you can't print it.
It's like Neopets or something, you know?
Yeah, it's like my Neopets.
Your Neopet is only valuable in Neopet Island,
Again,
nowhere else.
This conversation and the confusion surrounding it is more evidence to the fact that DSTLRY didn't quite stick the landing with that whole thing. They've also got like books on their site that are seemingly A covers that they're selling physical copies of for $20 while I could still walk to my local comic book shop and pick up White Boat for cover price.
Yeah.
Like, why would I buy it on your website for $20? It doesn't make sense. And it makes me think that it's like a limited exclusive thing
But it ain't.
when it is not. And that feels disingenuous and gross to me. So there's, a handful of weird things going on at DSTLRY that they haven't quite figured out yet. But generally, they're doing it. If you're talking about like
The content's there.
who is successfully shaken up the comic book industry for how many people claim to have been doing that, like DSTLRY's been maybe
Yeah.
the best at it.
Yeah.
Ghost Machine. I don't know, man.
Who?
Redcoat.
You mean the
shaking
Rook?
it up. Rook Exodus.
Redcoat
Making waves.
is getting a third fucking printing.
Yeah, dude. Redcoat's good.
Okay.
Redcoat 4
Fucking
out
colonial
next week.
Deadpool.
Okay, I just saw Amelia. I should say on just one last thing on the Boom thing. It's gonna stay independently run.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though they're now owned by a larger corporation, business as usual at Boom. So
Yeah.
feel good about that.
So all you Boom employees who are listening, don't worry. There's not going to be any layoffs. Wink.
But no, Disney Hyperion is Disney owned. They have their own distribution company, don't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was something weird where like Marvel owned some like minor stake in Boom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
had to sell it to make this deal happen or something weird. Okay. Amelia Clark is going to play Mallory in Ed Brubaker's Criminal.
I did see that.
Did you see that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm okay with this.
You any more excited or less excited or equally excited about seeing an adaptation of
I
Criminal?
need to know director. I need to know.
Yeah, we don't have many
showrunner.
details about
Yeah, I
it.
was going to say it's a show, right?
Yeah, I need to know who's behind the scenes. Amelia Clark, great start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Can't wait to see what dragon she's riding in Criminal.
These are the sort of things, though, that you're just like, okay, people of quality are being attached to it.
You cannot fuck up Criminal. You just can't.
Yeah.
Ed Brubaker wrote it perfectly. Just follow the book. Make your own version of Glass Onion, whoever's doing this, like in the criminal world. Jesus Christ.
Okay, did you guys see that the U.S. Mint is making DC coins and fans can vote for characters they want to see
Oh, we've been down this
on
road.
those coins?
We've been
Have
down
we?
DC and voting. That's how Robin died.
Can I vote
Oh,
for
yeah.
Can I vote for any DC character?
No.
Damn it.
Oh, Detective Chimp.
My detective
Coins.
chimp coin.
So here's what's happening. I think they're doing 9 coins.
9
Okay.
coins.
And the first 3 are coming out next year, and they're Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman.
The Trinity.
I'm
you got
shocked.
to. You got to.
Beyond that, the 2026 and 2027 coins are up in the air
Okay.
Where can we buy these?
from the U.S. Mint. And this is a thing that, like,
Remember the state quarters?
I do remember the state quarters. So I think this is the way this article was posed. It sounded like this doesn't happen very often, wherein the Mint makes a deal with a private company to
Sure.
coin something unique like this.
Okay.
So big thing. They're getting away with it. The way they're posing it is like comic books are a unique American artifact.
Sure.
And we're paying tribute to some of the original big pop culture
So,
characters
Are
of
these
America.
half dollars, dollars, quarters? What do they give? What kind of coinage this is?
I would give anything for a Batman dime.
I would. I want a wooden nickel of Wonder Woman.
I don't know what sort of monetary value is going to be like technically attached to these. I
Okay.
think because it is a U.S. mint thing, it might technically be like actual tender, but it may not be like
Spendable tender.
legally.
They're not
like,
distributed.
You don't. Yeah,
You
like
can't go pay for a movie with your
Yeah.
Batman coins.
Spencer's Gifts doesn't legally have to accept your Superman coin,
But they
as-
will.
Okay, so
Here's my Joker bucks.
the characters you can vote for, which I went through this and I voted.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We got to do this after the show.
And you go through all these characters and you rate them from 1 to 10
Based on hotness on a coin.
how interested you are in,
Would I flip this?
in buying a coin.
So Two-Face has to be one.
I was gonna say, just make Two-Face's coin.
No, that would have been amazing. It's all heroes. There's no
Oh, that's bullshit.
there's no villain.
Another reason why I hate the fucking government.
That's right. No, because who's the ultimate villain? The government.
Trump.
Are you gonna vote for Trump if he's like, we gotta get Joker on a quarter?
It is a huge disservice to DC Comics to leave off
Detective Chimp.
these great profiteers. By Fred, Harvey Dent, the Joker.
How
And
do you-
Brainiac number 8.
How do you not vote for Trump if he gets up there and he's like,
Easy.
Yeah, no, let's not even entertain this as a hypothetical.
Easy.
Detective Chimp is the best chimp
Yeah.
in the DCU,
Yeah.
no questions asked.
My VP, Detective Chimp.
All right, who are the characters, Mike D?
Supergirl,
Sure.
Green Arrow,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Black Canary.
Okay.
I put that one high. I thought that was
Wild.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a little more obscure for a coin from,
Now I can make
made by the
my
government.
Black Canary and Green Arrow coins kiss.
Perfect.
Shazam,
Uh-huh.
Blue Beetle,
Fuck yes. Oh, give me a booster. Give me a booster gold.
Cyborg,
Okay.
Okay.
Robin,
Oh, yes.
Which one?
OG Robin,
Oh, fine.
Green Lantern,
Which one? Sorry. Okay.
Kilowog, are you shocked?
Ooh.
Aquaman,
Okay.
Flash,
Okay.
Hawkman,
Oh.
and Batgirl.
No Harley Quinn.
No villains.
Antihero.
Yeah.
By the way, our American dollars are filled with villains. Zing, got you, government.
You did it. Bravo. Good on you. Okay.
I hate that list.
Dude, Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle. I think Blue Beetle, Black Canary, Batgirl, and Hawkman are all interesting to have on the list. Maybe even Cyborg
And Green Arrow.
is kind of like interesting.
Honestly, that whole list is kind of,
Odd.
I mean, other than the JLA members, right? Like,
Like
I
no
think-
Martian Manhunter,
yeah, true. Well, he's not an American, so
no Plastic Man. Get the fuck out of here. Neither is Shazam.
he's an illegal alien.
So Superman.
I think my I would expect the number one vote getter from this list is gonna be the Flash. That seems
or
like
Lantern.
the most iconic character that isn't in the Trinity.
Yeah,
Is it Hal Jordan?
it's got to be.
Green Lantern?
I would think
Gotta
so.
be.
Yeah.
Got to be Barry Allen Flash.
Yeah.
Crypto.
Dude,
You know what I mean? Like,
Superman's on the quarter, Crypto's on the dime.
this is, okay, interesting. Exciting.
Let's say these are $20 a pop.
Oh, I'm getting none.
You would get none.
No.
You don't even care.
I'd pay $20 for the set, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
$5 is reaching.
Yeah.
The state quarters were still 25 cents.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they will be. I would guess at a minimum $5, probably more likely $20 to get your hands on.
Oh, well then, man, I'm not going to get any of these. Are do they have pictures of them?
No, we don't know what they're going to look
So
like.
there's
yet.
no like
Yeah.
preamp or anything.
I bet they're like I bet they're one of those collector things.
Like commemorative,
or
like painted
they're
on.
painted.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You see on like Fox News.
Certificate of authenticity.
Silver never loses its value.
Yeah.
Peepaw.
Especially when it's got Batman on it.
What's better than silver? Batman silver. Hi, I'm an old man selling you money.
Wilford Burnley.
I'm Burt Bacharach selling Wonder Woman gold.
All right, Whoopi Goldberg.
Is on the coin?
No.
What superhero is she?
The Flash.
It's true. Because the career went like that.
Wrote a graphic novel called The Change, and it's about a superhero that manifests superpowers while going through menopause.
Oh.
She apparently wrote this like 20 years ago.
No kidding.
And it just like never made it to publication. I don't know if like publishers weren't interested at the time or if she just never took it the next step, but it had been sitting around for a long time and she finally made it happen. And I
Okay.
just thought that was cool. You just don't like Amelia Clark did write that really cool
Mom.
Yeah.
comic Mom, which was like an acronym for Mother of Madness, which was kind of like getting your period and the things it did.
Yes.
Like that's
Your period gave you superpowers.
That's your superpower.
Yeah.
Well, and Chelsea Kane did Manhunters,
Yes.
where the kids turned into cats when they got their periods.
It's on Image.
Yeah.
So in the vein of those things, it's cool to see senior woman writing comic books and doing something.
Yeah. And making an event in their life
Yeah.
that is supposed to signify maybe something not as joyful as it is supposed to be, but
Yeah.
like empowering that menopause moment of just like, I have much more abilities now in my menopause phase of life.
I listened to a podcast not that long ago. I can't remember. I wish I could remember what show it was.
Joe Rogan?
But it was definitely Joe
You're a big
Rogan.
Rogan
First
head.
issue club.
And they had a really thoughtful episode on menopause.
Big rogue head.
But
It's actually just like dinosaur piss.
they were talking about all these like, moments in life that, almost every woman experiences this, and it's not something that's like discussed culturally really.
Nope.
It's something that a lot of women who are starting to go through it don't know what to expect because it just hasn't been talked about, even like with their like general doctors and all that stuff. So it's just, that's a failing of our society, right? And
Well, one of many.
I think good on Whoopi for championing that topic and putting it in a form that's like kind of palatable and reaches different audiences. I do think comic books is one of those things that it's like, okay, how do we make this topic something palatable? Well, let's put it in a comic book.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that sometimes ends up creating this
Cheesy, made for TV.
yeah, like a lot of corny stuff being put into comic books without people understanding what makes the medium interesting.
Right. Marvel did it a lot with smoking and drugs and like CO2 awareness. And it usually involved Spider-Man or Daredevil.
Yeah. But the synopsis of this book sounds like it makes sense as a comic book. So I'm excited to check it out.
I can't wait for the foil Peach Momoko variant, right?
I don't think it's coming out as single issues. I think it's only a graphic novel.
Do we know just independently? Can we look for it on Kickstarter?
I think Dark Horse might have published it.
Okay, that makes sense.
That
Yeah.
checks for Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Also, we didn't talk about it yet. The new Agatha All Along trailer.
Slaps
Yeah.
hard.
I'm shocked about how spooky it looks.
Yeah.
And Aubrey Plaza is in it. I was kind of scratching my head when they announced that she was going to be in the TV show Agatha All Along, because I was like, well, where's she going to fit in? But after now seeing the trailer, I'm just like, oh, she is just fine.
Oh yeah.
She is going to be just the spearhead that makes the story go forward, which is great.
I kind of got the vibe that she might be playing Shadow King, like she did in Legion.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Like she just kind of plays the same character, which I guess evil kind of spooky villain is not like too different out of sight of her wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
God.
I mean, we watched Parks and Rec.
yeah,
If I was younger watching Legion, that show would have given me such nightmares. The like Shadow King dream sequences when like the more traditional like boogeyman is like coming after him down like hallways, like that was freaky.
Petrified.
I need to watch that show again.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Well, it does come out after the Deadpool Wolverine,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
so there may be some kind of collapsing
Yeah,
of the universes
Universal.
into one.
Yep.
I'm saying.
Because I saw something online that kind of like was interesting. That if you haven't seen the trailer yet, minor spoiler, Wanda is in the beginning of it, and like this kind of like CSI styled sequence where Agatha is like playing a cop, and she comes across the body of Wanda, but apparently it's the Wanda from another universe where Wiccan and his brother were taken from.
Yeah.
And at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah.
So it's not the one that we saw in Multiverse of Madness, because God knows where that Wanda is. So I thought it was kind of cool of just like tying all the loose threads together and all that business.
Yeah. I'm stoked for it. I think it looks great.
I think it looks phenomenal.
I'm interested to see if they're going to do some sort of universal reset.
I think absolutely.
That now Marvel, the MCU has gotten as convoluted as the comic books are. And they're like, it seems like every like third thing now as fans we're excited about them. And we're doing this big Battle World Secret Wars thing, which may end up being this thing where it's like a key turns and now it's like universe collapse, new universe born. It's really interesting to me to do this like Hollywood thing where we're constantly recasting and reinventing characters and franchises, but doing it in continuity of a storyline is super, super interesting to me. That they can give you a reason for the reboot instead of constantly just being like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Try it again. Well, that didn't work. Try it again. It's like a planned reboot that seems like it's been like 20 years in the making.
Isn't also Agatha in the Secret Wars comic book?
I don't recall
I don't remember
if Agatha
her.
plays a part in the original Secret Wars.
Or Secret Wars 2015.
Okay.
I don't remember her in either.
I thought she had like a bit part of just like being a character.
The only thing I can think she might have been in is Weird World.
Okay. Well, there goes my theory right out the goddamn window.
No idea.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, tonally it looks interesting. I don't know if the same team members who worked on WandaVision are attached to it, but I really liked WandaVision and this,
Well, and they're making that Vision TV show in a year or so. So
I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
apparently the rumor is it's supposed to be Vision Quest as a TV show.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So
Is Paul Bettany? gonna
Yes.
be-
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, they had enough money and they threw it at him,
Oh my God. Crazy.
and he caught it.
How about that? Got to stick to those original Avengers they're finding. That's what people are interested in. You can't do the obscure character chasing now.
Nope.
They're doing Wonder Man.
Is
We'll
that
see.
still happening?
We'll see.
I don't know about that.
It's filming, apparently.
No, a lot of things are filming. Oh, I heard last thing on the news. The Toxic Avenger
Yeah.
movie apparently is being shelved indefinitely.
What? They're not releasing it?
The last thing I saw online was like, it is unviewable.
It got like rave reviews at Venice.
I don't know, man. That's the last thing I
Andy's, like,
saw.
What?
Legit mad.
I am.
Well, I'm upset too. It looks badass. We'll have to look.
Toxic Crusader or Toxic Avenger?
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger.
Avenger,
The
okay.
Peter
With
Dinklage
Peter
was in it.
Dinklage.
Oh, okay.
They released a trailer for it and everything.
Unviewable. Which is what they said about the original too. But I digress. We'll dig into it more. We'll check back in next week with an update. But
I'm going to yell about that on the next Patreon.
I hate this whole like movies as tax write-off things.
give me my Acme movie with Will Forte.
Yeah.
How about Batgirl?
And Batgirl? Yeah. Just
Sure.
so curious to see what those were gonna be like.
Yeah, huge bummer.
All right, enough chit chat. Let's get to comic books.
We read the same thing.
I think we need to start it off with our headliner, X-Men numero uno. From the ashes, out of the fire of the downfall of Krakoa, we are now officially in a new age of X-Men. There was a lot of baggage in the Krakoa comics.
Yep.
The stories all crisscrossed and were important to follow individual stories to like get the overarching thread of the comic. So I bought fucking tons, and you really had to stay in tune with what was going on. My immediate read on this book was that this is a shift from that in particular. That
Thank you. We are on the same page.
that we in this issue had Wolverine basically be like, he gets saved in the first issue. That's like kind of like one of the core
Yeah.
like
He was psychically signaling them to come pick
storylines
him
to
up.
come pick him up. He gets picked up from this like obscure sect of Orcus that was like an interesting thing that maybe we won't get into the
rigmarole.
the rigmarole of it all.
Fourth school, I think they called themselves.
Yes. But once he gets saved, you assume he's like picking up as part of the storyline, and he's just like, fuck y'all, I'm going out into the wilderness and just like, I've had enough of society. Maybe I should have never left the forest.
This isn't a phase, Mom. This is who I am.
Yeah. This is me now.
And I was kind of like, okay, so Wolverine has got to have a comic. We know some stuff's coming out.
Greg Capullo.
And the way they're setting it up, it seems like it'll be very standalone, telling its own story, that you will not have to be so ingrained in all of the other X-Men stories to follow.
Yep.
Which I think it will probably be really refreshing for some people to hear as Wolverine fans or fans of like the X-Men school era stories, that you're going to get something with like Kitty and Emma that's a little more in that vein, whereas this story that we seem to be centering around with Cyclops and this new team members is a little more like traditional, like, hey, let's save some mutants and kick some ass. Like Stegman's art was great.
Ryan Stegman did
Big-
the Lord's work.
Yeah, big, crazy, fun fight sequences that were just like really fun to look at. Like so many pages of this book were like action scenes that were like a Where's Waldo of details. Just like so much crazy stuff going on in them. I've ranted for a bit on kind of like the big picture where I see it going. Let's maybe narrow our focus and talk a little bit more about like this issue in particular.
Sure.
And what we learned and what we thought about it. What do you think about the team that we've got as our new core X-Men group?
It is maybe one of the more unconventional starter X-Men teams than we've had in a long time. And we just exited the Jonathan Hickman era, so that says a lot about where we are in the X-Men timeline as far as people involved. I will say tonally and structurally, this is night and day compared to Jonathan Hickman's House and Powers of X when we first started 5 or 6 years ago.
This is what a lot of people, I think, were expecting, and maybe like a palate cleanser.
This is the gargle after a deep tissue brush of your teeth.
Yeah.
We're getting all of the dead tissue and all of the gingivitis out. We're about to spit it into the sink and have a fresh, clean mouth.
And that we just want to like sit back, eat some popcorn, and enjoy for a little bit without having to think too hard.
And that's if that's what this is, then that's great.
Are you disappointed by that at all, or are you kind of excited?
I'm honestly shocked. I'm not scared or worried, but I am shocked because the last introduction or big intro to X-Men we had was the Jonathan Hickman House and Powers storyline.
Yeah.
Correct? That first issue was a fucking masterclass on how to demonstrate story and broad strokes of where your story's going to go within 32 pages.
Yeah.
This seemed very micro-sectionalized storytelling.
Yeah.
Which is not bad because after the end of the Fall of Krakoa, everything's so segmented and broken up anyway.
Yeah.
It would make no sense for it to be a cohesive, altogether story. So I enjoy that they're in Alaska. I enjoy that they took over a factory that used to be the sole purpose was to build Sentinels to take down X-Men. I loved that imagery. I like that Beast is there and bitter about the Krakoan age and his role in it. I like that Magneto's there, sitting in his floating chair, being a curmudgeon, and still distrusting of the human race.
He's kind of had, interesting thing about the two characters you just named. I feel like Magneto was a character that got resurrected at the finish line.
Yes.
And in getting resurrected, they had an opportunity to say, let's kind of make him maybe a little more of the Magneto of old. And that's something that just like general audiences are going to be a little more comfortable eating.
Especially with X-Men 97 happening right now as well.
Sure. And let's pick up on that point in just a second. But same thing with Beast. There was a storyline in X-Force where the Krakoan era Beast was killed and replaced with a more like a clone of Beast who only had his memories up to like a certain point.
Right.
And
he references that.
Never had the Krakoan era to like make him sort of like the twisted, demented beast that came out the other side of that. So we do have like a reset that was in continuity, which I do think it's refreshing to read a first issue of a new era of X-Men that isn't like, fuck all the stuff that you just read.
Yeah.
This is like a whole new thing. Like it does...
It picks up the pieces that Krakoa
pick
dropped.
up the pieces that Krakoa dropped, and as an ongoing reader who, like, I think, you know, a good amount of your fans are going to be people who want to see some sort of, like, acknowledgement of the 6 years they just invested in the Jonathan Hickman era. There's just a little bit of that there.
Yeah.
Okay, to your point about X-Men 97. And I think a lot of other people were expecting the book to be way more of that 90s X-Men vibe.
Yeah.
It wasn't that.
No.
I think
it's a Fallout book.
Maybe a lot of people are going to be disappointed by that.
Yeah. It's a rug pull of a book.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so we didn't really recount like who our team was.
We got Quentin Quire.
Yep.
Psylocke. Magic, Juggernaut,
Tempest,
Cyclops, and then
Glob Herman is hanging out at the base.
Glob Herman is in the garden. My boy made it.
He's doing
All
his
glory to
thing.
Glob.
Instead of chickens this time, it's
Zorn. Zorn is in the
Zorn.
building. Jacket unzipped, abs rocking.
Yep.
He's looking good.
This is much more like 20 teens Grant Morrison era X-Men, which like I'm like, yeah, like
give me the puffy leather jackets.
I would rather you
Yeah.
go back to this X-Men than 90s X-Men personally.
This is a cobbled together team.
I don't think I'm most people. So I was kind of excited by the team, but I think
Yeah.
most people were like, I just want Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine.
no,
Yeah.
you want candy too, and it's bad for your teeth. You get Grant Morrison because it's good for you.
This is true.
So you're gonna,
Licorice is technically candy.
you're gonna get like Phoenix has a book coming out. You're gonna get like all these characters doing their own sort of things that aren't gonna be so mainline story crucial. So you get those characters, you just don't get them in one big team up book. Maybe the story evolves to a point where it smashes them all together, and you're like, okay, here's the '90s team that like maybe a lot of fans were clamoring for. But I was honestly kind of like stoked to see it's a little more of a nod to like Grant Morrison era X-Men.
This feels like a prelude book to a bigger thing that's going to happen.
Yes, 100%. Uncanny X-Men has not started yet. We are talking about X-Men, which, to emphasize Greg's point, is a pick up the pieces, where are we going from Krakoa sort of storyline at this point.
Which is I think
But action packed. It's not just like full of dialogue.
it's great, but it's like Saved by the Bell, the new class. It's familiar, but different, and like kind of weird. There's some familiar faces and some new ones that are kind of hot, and there's the weird guy that you don't really like anymore, and the principal's still there for some reason. But it's like it works, but it's only going to last for 2 seasons, so you don't want to get too invested because you know something else is coming down the line.
Yeah.
It's just it was odd. And I love Jed McKay. I love Ryan Stegman.
Yep.
They both are doing the Lord's work here. I don't know where this book is going to go.
Okay, speaking of where this book is going to go, did you read the QR code page?
No, because Andy has fucking freaked me out from scanning any QR code that I'm going to get fucking hacked.
So at the end of this comic, there is a QR code, and it sends you to one additional comic book page. And that page has 4 characters
Naked glob.
in silhouette who are kind of talking about and architecting what the future might hold for our mutants.
Were these the people in the warehouse that had the Orcus mutants?
It is likely these characters.
Okay.
Or they are puppeteering these Orcus characters.
Okay.
You can't totally tell who they are. I get the vibe that one of them is Professor X.
Interesting.
They are sitting at a table with an X, a big circular table with an X in it, and at the points of the X are the 4 seats.
Interesting.
And so it's kind of seems like an Illuminati secret society kind of trying to shape where mutantdom in the world goes.
The Orcus 4th housing, or whatever they're calling themselves,
Yep.
they have X's on their suits.
Yes.
And that's referenced in the book.
Yep.
I think Choir is just like, why are these people have X's on
They
them?
hate us. Why are they wearing
Yes.
our symbol? And it's because this is a sect of Orcus who is like accepted that mutantdom is like a natural evolution of things, and they want to evolve.
They're morphing together biological, mutant, and AI, which is their input to technology.
Yep.
Hybrids.
Yeah.
So that's totally Grant Morrison
A lot of Grant Morrison vibes in this comic, so much so.
because he did the what were they called? Not the Angel Slayers or whatever. Like the guys who like were human but mutant. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go, baby.
But Jed McKay's writing it.
Jed McKay is writing it.
So
give this guy a vacation, Marvel.
So
Yeah.
the secret
You're
people
gonna burn
will
him
be,
out.
The secret people will be Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and Moon Knight.
It's
and
Moon
Knight and Moon Knight.
Moon Knight mutants. It was cool. I liked the allusion to New Mutants that we may be experiencing, or like new iterations of mutants
Yep.
that have been cloaked in their Orcus suits, so we don't know who they are. One looks like a speedster. One looks like someone who can like do force field stuff, and like so we have a lot of different kinds of mutant powers, and they reference that the mutant gene manifests itself around puberty, but these were full-grown adults.
Yeah.
Who had manifested their mutant powers.
Yep.
I heard that Whoopi was writing that comic book, right?
Yep. Menopausal mutants from Whoopi Goldberg.
It's a great concept.
I mean, I'm not lying.
Yep.
So, what did you? What was your initial take for? I was about 7 out of 10 on this book.
Yeah, I'll say I'll say 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I was so excited to see that it was like Grant Morrison-y X-Men. And just like Quentin and Glob and
Yeah.
To see Zorn and Glob
Zorn,
again, I was like, holy shit,
like,
this rules.
That I was like excited for. I loved Magic and Juggernaut had like
They're like friends.
a lot of like pissy little like arguments, but then we're kind of like they were like the little kids at the party. Mm-hmm. And their dynamic was really fun.
And they're just like toting around on the Marauders' big battleship thing, which ruled.
So I had fun with it. It's tough after House and Powers because that kind of new era, new age was like not just X-Men fans are talking about it.
Yeah.
It was like all of comics were like hanging on the edge of your seat like every single week for another House of or Powers of to come out. And it was so different. And I get that this is kind of like
This is a simplified
simplified
start.
thing, but it's so I was initially kind of disappointed in that idea, but seeing that it wasn't simplified to 90s animated X-Men or like the Jim Lee X-Men team, I was really excited to see that we were getting like not just your like basic toast and butter X-Men.
If anything, this book should have been called X-Men Disassembled, because it was very much of just like Cyclops had to get a team together. He's like, who the fuck is around right now? Let's get them into one spot and like just try to like regroup.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now.
Psylocke looked awesome.
Everyone
Juggernaut
looked
looked awesome. A lot of these like character and outfit designs are very cool. They found really creative ways to work like the X onto a lot of the outfits.
Scott looked
in,
younger.
Again, a Grant Morrison era, like super padded, super puffy sort of way. Scott does look really young, and he's kind of got like an energy and exuberance that's not very Scott Summers that I was like, that made him a little more of a likable character to me.
Yes. He wasn't like rigid or like a chaperone.
Yes, totally.
He was very much just like, hey, I'm fucking just as confused as you guys. We are just going in.
I've never really liked the kind of bondage magic look. And I was a little disappointed to see the black leather come back.
Yeah.
But I do think they wanted you to feel the 2010s era X-Men.
Yeah. Magic needs a new suit.
That was a big part of it. I loved the like gold armor that stuck around for a really long time in the Krakoa and stuff. And I was kind of hoping some of that would carry through, but
I just want her to have fucking pants. Yeah. Something.
I know. Those little booty shorts and the...
Yeah, or like a sweater. Like, come on.
Yeah.
She needs a... Yeah. We've seen this style costume for too long now. It's
and
like,
I
we need something
think,
new.
too, it's like I fell in love with that character over the course of 100 issues of New Mutants, where she's a teenager.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of viewed her and Danny and Kitty and Wolfsbane as younger kids and teens. And when those characters are sexualized, it like never quite sits right with me because...
You feel like Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, I feel like a real Neil Gaiman when... so, yeah. I don't know. we got to move on. We talked way too.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
X-Men is a book I think that deserves some conversation when a new X-Men book comes out. That
Yeah, I'll do these really quick then. I read Archie Comics Judgment Day by Aubrey Sitterson and Megan Hitchinson.
okay.
It is a book that is like a satanic reimagining of Archie, and like there's Leviathans running around eating Riverdale kids and morphing them into weird creatures. It's
Yes.
it's too segmented to have a nice easy flow.
Oh.
I like the idea and I like what the thought process is in this book, but it's too rigid and like clunky to really get a nice flow and like a nice creepy era about it.
Okay. Is this the Trula book? Trula Twist?
I don't think so.
Okay. I know she's got. Do you know who that character is? She was like a
No,
late.
that was the sci-fi book they released a while back.
Okay, she was like Jughead's foil.
Yeah.
Like
No.
like 30 years ago or something, and they're bringing her back.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I read Barfly by Kyle Starks.
Yes.
With Ryan Brown, and then story plotting by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum. Fucking great.
That's
The Minor Threat stuff is fantastic.
Minor Threats is a story that's been happening in Dark Horse, much like Black Hammer and
Yeah.
Hellboy. And you're probably thinking, Greg, do I need to read Minor Threats to read this book? Calm down. I would not suggest a book on this show that you would need a lot of excess reading to understand.
Yeah.
So calm down. Do you need to read it? Yes, because it's fun. The Minor Threat stuff is a good read.
Yeah. Should you read Minor Threat?
Should you read it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Barfly is about the character Shit Eater, who is like a little fly, who is essentially a minion of another supervillain who's been imprisoned,
Yeah.
and like his life in the aftermath. So he works at like a burger place and goes to like just a shit bar every night and drinks. It had a very heavy Clerks vibe, which I really dug. And it was classic Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown stuff. The art was great, humor was there, and it really set up for the next issues. His super villain, like not master, but like leader, gets out of prison. So it's like, what is his life going to be now that he's back in town? And it's funny because the Shit Eater wants to start a band. He buys like a guitar from a pawn shop, and like he's ready to start this new life of like being with his shithead friends, like playing guitar and stuff. And then his old boss shows up.
So he's like having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, essentially.
That's awesome.
I read either the Alternates or Fastest Way Down or like one of the other spin-offs that Minor Threats has already done. And it was definitely like you kind of have to read the first Minor Threats series to understand who the characters are.
This did a really good job of not
A little more standalone.
having you do
Okay.
that. It references it. It doesn't even really reference Minor Threats.
Okay.
It just plops you into the world of just like, hey, there are other superheroes here. You may hear some names. It's not important that you know them, but if you do know them, it's just extra flavor in this soup.
This is something where I've like, since it's like Patton Oswalt writing them all, he wrote this, correct?
No, Kyle Starks wrote it.
Kyle Starks wrote it.
But the plot points have been made by Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt, who are the architects
Okay.
vis-a-vis the Mike Mignola of the Hellboyverse.
It would be cool if the first group of all these trades got released in like a singular Omni. I don't know if that's going to happen because they all are technically miniseries.
Yeah.
But
I could see Dark Horse doing it as a library edition.
I would love something
Well,
like
Dark
that.
Horse just announced that they're releasing all the Beast of Burden books into one omnibus.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So they
okay.
might do
there's
something like
There's
that.
a precedent
Yeah.
to do like several minis.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I would say check it out. If you liked the movie Clerks, if you like, there's a lot of like punk rock references in this. They don't explicitly say the bands in the albums, but they do like fun homage, goof 'em up of like punk covers, which is very fun. And if you love Kyle Starks, Kyle Starks
Starks
is an
rules.
amazing writer. humor and non-humor. So it's just a fun book. And then Andy and I both read Kill All Immortals. I thought it was okay. You liked it way better.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it is. I think we both agree it could have done without the first like 6 pages.
Is this a Zach Kaplan?
It's Zach Kaplan.
book?
Yeah.
We traditionally love Zach Kaplan, right?
I will say this. I didn't hate this book.
Okay.
I don't think it should not have been a thing. I just want to say that up at the top. Love Zach Kaplan. This needed to be restructured differently.
I think it's because it seems very well trodden.
Okay.
It's a family of immortals that are business tyrants that control everything and kill their rivals.
Okay.
Like it's all very like
Reminiscent of something.
you can picture something in
Yeah.
your head of
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
Not that this story is like
Infernals. was-
yeah, it's that
Yeah, like
it's that same kind of thing. I don't know. I think that this could be cool if it ends up flip-flopping in the next issue where the girl and her boyfriend are just like hunting down her family on this island and it becomes like a slasher movie where one of them is immortal or
Right.
they're all immortal. I don't know.
I like the idea, and it's a trope at this point in like a sub genre. So like it has its place. I'm not a fan of those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
It was written well. It was illustrated well.
Yeah. Just not for you.
If you are a fan of those stories, you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are correct. We love Zach Kaplan and all that he does. So this is in no way shade to Zach Kaplan and his affiliates.
Yeah. What was your temperature on it? 'Cause
I liked it.
You liked it,
I thought
okay.
it was good. I will say again, I think the first 6 issues could have just like been totally knocked. Yes, 6 pages could have been knocked off. Like,
Yeah.
because it's all just this family.
This exposition that
Well, it's this family like talking about this business dealing, and they're like, oh, they're just pussies, you know. And then the immortals come in and like kill them all and slice them
Yeah.
up, and like then the story starts.
Yeah.
okay. This is one of those things that's like I feel really effective in movies to like set you up with something that's kind of mundane and then change the speed of and tone of it
Yeah.
like out of nowhere and you're just like, my God.
It's like how most Rush Hour movies start.
Yeah.
There's like a heist, and you're like, "What's happening?
think-
Chris Tucker's."
Well, like
Drive does a really good job of that because that movie's really slow, and then
Oh,
that,
right,
that
yeah.
hotel scene is like just like, oh my God, what happened to this movie?
well, like name every Netflix original action movie. That's
Yeah.
how they all start.
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
It's like
Extraction.
really slow, big action set piece, record scratch.
Yeah.
Then it goes back and the movie starts.
but tougher in a comic because it's a little more tedious to read
Yeah.
through the pages than to set the tone
Yeah.
to just like kill everybody.
Because you know it's coming. Like,
Yeah.
Sure,
Right?
There's that
Yeah.
too.
Like, yeah.
anyway.
Oh, and
My turn?
we also both read Kid Venom.
Kid Venom was super fun.
Kid Venom ruled. It was a manga.
Yeah. I mean, it was like straight up watching an anime.
Yeah, it was set in feudal Japan.
977 Japan.
A symbiote has come to Earth and bonded with
Clitar.
this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Clitar and us, and we were hanging out.
Yep.
And they were in.
They
Kid
got to
Venom.
defend Kyoto from...
Yeah, there's a Spider-Man mask for some reason.
That is what I think is the most interesting part. And did you read the back notes in it?
Of course not. Was it a QR code?
No, it's not a QR code. But they say that like there's a reason the Spider-Man mask is there. It will all be revealed in due time. One of those things.
Probably
So-
Kid Venom 2.
Yeah, probably.
Or
Yeah,
3.
big tease. But I thought it was super fun.
It reminded me a lot of, in the same kind of style as Peach Momoko's Demon Days,
Yeah.
of how they're breaking the structure down and like really leaning into manga influences.
Yep. And I really like that all the speech bubbles are nice and huge.
Yeah.
So you don't have
Because
to read a lot of words.
Probably written in another language, and then they went in and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because the writer is Taigami is the writer and artist. So
because the same thing happens with Peach Momoko's Demon Days. Like you can tell she did it in her native language, and then someone had to go back in from Marvel editing and be like, "Fuck! Like I gotta erase all these words now."
What's this chicken scratch?
Yeah, what is this?
I need to write this in freedom language.
But no, it was really, really fun and cool.
Yeah, I loved it. It's a blast.
This would be a great book to give to a younger reader
For sure.
who is like loves anime and manga, but you're the dad or mom that wants them to be into American Marvel comics, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Hey, look at this, son. Please like it."
So funny to me which of these, all these like Edge of Spider-Verse characters and Edge of Venomverse, that they just like throw you so many new characters. The ones that stick always blow my mind.
Yeah.
Like I'll be interested in one or two of them, and then like Kid Venom, who I didn't think twice about, gets a mini series. And I do think it's like American culture's like fascination with Japanese culture and anime, and this being like an American character you're familiar with is kind of like a gateway into manga, and that's really resonates with people.
My only thing, what would have made this better? Make it black and white.
Make it manga sized.
Yeah.
And make it newsprint.
Yeah.
And making you read it backwards.
Yes. Like, lean into it if you're going to do it.
I also got the Lethal Protector homage variant
Yeah.
because
Very cool.
I thought it was very funny.
Yeah. That is cool.
Dope.
Oh, fuck. We read another book.
What? What'd you read?
Domain. We both read Domain.
Domain. So we'll do that next. So Domain is kind of a bit.
It's a meta book.
It's a meta book. It is the book that's being written, Greg reminded me, inside of Public Domain, the Chip Zdarsky written comic that was like the book of the year last year.
Yeah.
Fucking ruled. And
Still rules.
This is ostensibly the book that they are writing
Yes.
in that book.
Yeah, if I remember right, they're trying to modernize
His dad's character.
His dad's
Yeah.
character, and so they wrote this new comic, and this is that comic.
Correct. And it's a lot of fun.
It's a very fun, like,
It's Power Rangers.
yeah. And it's like, I think Chip had a lot of fun with it because he was like, I can really play around with this and like mimic what a remake comic book would be.
Yes.
And like, he's like, it's
You can
really,
lean into tropes.
yes.
Yeah.
And like, it's like him really just like adding more depth to his already astonishing public domain book. And I imagine he had a ton of fun writing this.
I also didn't. It feels like he didn't feel the stress of like putting in Chip Zdarsky jokes. Because like his jokes are always very like either very punch you in your face or like heady and elevated. And this is like kind of just a comic book.
It's a very standard,
Yeah.
fair comic book,
Yeah.
which is funny.
It's
that's,
awesome, yeah.
That's what made it so funny to me. That like, if this was like a quote unquote normal comic that I would pick off the shelf, I'd be like, oh, like this is fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Like I like the older Domain better, but this is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I also like. I'm guessing this is only going to be a 6-issue limited. I don't think this bit is going to keep up.
God no,
But
I hope not.
They're doing like D&D RPG variant covers with character sheets, and I always think those are super fun. So those are probably the ones that I'm going to get. What else did you read, Greg?
That's it. I swear to
Finally, for the headliner of the show, X-Men
boy.
take a seat because Moon Knight got a 0
God.
issue.
For the next 30 minutes, we're gonna hear about Moon Knight.
No,
Not Zero Issue Club, Andy.
that's true. It's 240 issue club.
Oh,
That's
we
the
still got some legacy numbering. Okay.
So this is a reintroduction to Mark Spector as told by Khonshu. And I'll say this. If you are listening to this show and you've been like, this Vargas guy, all he does is talk about Moon Knight. I don't know the difference between a moon and a knight. This is the book to pick up.
Okay.
Because Khonshu breaks down who he is, where he's been, why he was there, who all these characters are. It literally goes page by page and explains to you who Soldier is, who Reese is, who Tigra is, who 8-Ball is, who Soldier is,
I don't know these people.
who Mark Spector is, each one of his different personalities.
What about the vengeance stuff? Is that
That
part of this?
that is part of it. They touch on it.
Yeah.
But it's a great recap issue
Yeah.
of what Jed McKay's been doing through his 30 issues. Then I think 12 issues they're going for Vengeance of the Moon Knight before Fist of Vengeance picks up. It's a great primer to all that stuff. So if you read Blood Hunt with no knowledge of Moon Knight, but you were like, damn, what the fuck is going on?
Who is this guy?
Yeah. Pick up this Zero issue.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
Sounds like a great Zero issue.
It really was.
That's what Zero issues should be.
Yes.
Optional
Keep it out of my first issue.
recap stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, otherwise, this would have been like the first 4 pages of the next Moon Knight number
Yeah.
one.
And those are tedious.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, give me more or none of it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So
Smart.
pick it up. I also read Werewolf by Night, number one.
Blood Hunt tie-in.
Blood
right?
Hunt tie-in. This was super cool because they kept the Taboo character.
Yes.
This is not Jack Russell.
Okay.
This is, I forget his name.
Yeah.
But it's a little one-off story where he fights a ghost because these kids are trying to summon a demon and they succeed.
I hate when that happens.
Don't you just? And what's cool about it is it gave me like classic monster movie, classic monster comic vibes towards the end, because he wanders kind of off into the desert and says, I need to learn to control this monster inside of me and I can't be around people until I do.
Yeah.
So definitely that Red Band book that they're coming out with is going to be him like wandering town to town, helping people with their X-Files style problems, you know,
That's cool.
and tearing people apart. Right.
Love it.
So this is a very cool one shot. Honestly, didn't have a lot to do with what's going on in Blood Hunt, but it was a cool kind of reminder primer of who this character is.
Yep.
You know, that he's got ties to Red Wolf, who apparently is still around from Secret Wars.
Nice.
You know, he's got this grandma or something, other character, whatever. It's a primer on who this guy is. I read it in like 5 minutes before I came over here, so
Yeah.
I'm blanking on a lot of the details.
If you're going to
but-
do vampire stuff, you got to throw in your werewolf character.
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool that it was a primer to like the ongoing that they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
that was great. And then the other one I read was Carrie Andrews' Spider-Man Reign number 2. Well, Spider-Man Reign 2 number 1.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of the first Reign. I think it's. I'm a big fan of any like alternate reimagining of a classic character.
Yeah.
And this is like more of the same. Spider-Man has been in like a VR coma for a couple of years, and Kingpin has come back after the end of Reign 1 and taken over New York.
These are the pages that are speculated are AI.
Yeah.
So these are the pages online, right in here, that people are curious about the backgrounds and AI prompts
Yeah, man.
from Carrie Andrews.
I don't know. I cannot imagine, because wasn't Carrie Andrews the guy who called out?
That's what people are saying because,
No, Addie Grantov called out somebody. Francisco Matina.
yes, but Carrie Andrews also has called out people for using AI,
Yeah.
and people saw these were like, well, what a goddamn minute. Like, weren't you the person that spoke out about this? This looks suspiciously like the thing you have been calling out.
Yeah.
I think there's a precedent to at least use stock photography as backgrounds in comics.
I agree.
I mean, even like there's some old Frank Miller stuff, I feel like, where they've just turned the contrast up on shots of New York City when they just need like a big bustling skyline and are just like, God, this is going to take days
I
to
can't draw 100 windows.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to take a picture of the city, turn it black and white, turn the contrast up so it looks like a drawing, and slap it in there. I don't have the time and patience to draw a full comic book. So I understand that people take shortcuts with backgrounds sometimes and buy stock photography. I don't love it if that is AI generated.
Yeah.
But let's say it's something where like he purchased an asset or something.
And
that doesn't bother me so much.
And I'll
the
say
majority of the work in here, or the artwork your eyes are supposed to focus on,
is hand drawn.
Hand drawn.
I mean, show that splash page.
Yeah.
Like fucking come on. And that's the whole book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I would be very upset if it does turn out that he used AI to make this book, but at the same time, like,
Yeah, check out this.
This book is like done by Carrie Andrews. Yeah.
Crotch shot from Spider-Man. Yeah, I have issues with Carrie Andrews for other reasons other than AI. So
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this.
yeah, his little rant on the Mark Millar show podcast about wokeism and all that shit it's a tired argument to have.
Yeah.
As a human, especially as a white male, of complaining about wokeism.
Yeah.
And the points he was making were absolute garbage. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I can't like anybody ever again. If Grant Morrison touches anyone, that's it. I'm going to retire from...
I'm just... I think you can still like Carrie Andrews, but it's a kind of thing of just like, you're on notice. like I am paying close attention to what you're doing for a little bit.
I just hate it because I loved Rain and I loved the 1% book that he did. And anyway, Renato Jones. Anybody read Renato Jones?
Oh, loved it. Never read it.
Well, it was on Image.
Yeah, but he wrote and drew it. It's about a rich guy who hunts other rich guys. Like, he's an assassin for billionaires. It was awesome.
The 1% taking care of the 1%.
Yeah, dude. It was sick.
As they typically do.
It was sick.
And with that, Mike, I think that's an episode.
See you later.